actually watch and see those two great players trying to make it into the semifinals.
Yeah, but not only that, of course, everyone loves an underdog story, right? So obviously, this is Daniel's really first big result. I remember I was talking to him yesterday, and he was so excited to make the top 8 at this tournament. And he was he already knew beforehand what he was playing against, and so he was saying to me, obviously, if I win the coin flip, that puts me in really good stead. But even if I don't, just the fact that the XY Trevenant can block off the Night March deck and being able to set up with all the items just puts me in a sort of a really good position. And I think even just in general, he's just really looking forward to this. And now with 1 win each, he just, I've won him just 1 win away from making the top 4.
Yeah, now it's going to be very interesting to see, does Daniel opt for the Breakpoint Trevenant again? Because we know that if everything goes well for Charles, he's going to have that access to item cards for turn 1. And if he can discard so many Night Marches already, there's no big advantage for Daniel to keep on blocking out item cards against Night March. Yeah. So really curious to see how Daniel plays this one.
Yeah, and the other really important thing as well is that will Charles be able to get on, because in the first game we saw he plays 2 Fighting Fury Belt, and on his turn, his early turn, he managed to attach both of them before Daniel could use item lock, because that just means that Silent Fear is going to take an extra 2 turns to be able to get that double or triple knockout, which just gives Charles more turns to get knockouts in return.
Very exciting matchup in my opinion, and glad we have it on stream right here. Both players still have plenty of time to shuffle their decks and to continue with game number 3 to see who's going to proceed to the semifinals.
Yes. So something else that could play a factor into this matchup, of course, the Night March list plays 4 Puzzle of Time in order to recover those double colors energies, because Charles only plays 4. If Daniel can just get an early Trevenant and then knock out enough of the Night March attackers so that he can take those 4 double colors energies off the field before Charles takes 6 knockouts, Puzzle of Time won't be able to be played because of the Trevenant's ability. So then at that point Charles will be out of energy, and at that point Daniel will be able to take the game from there.
Yeah, that would be very important, especially in the late game. So the most Trevenant variants that I saw did not play Trevenant Breakpoint. So for Daniel now, he really has to decide, as he starts with another Phantom, which is great news for him, which Trevenant he wants to go for.
Another option here is if you're going second, you might want to just start with the Wobbuffet, because of course the Bide Barricade ability prevents the abilities of all non-psychic Pokemon from being able to do anything. And so if Daniel started with that active, Charles would not be able to play Shaman and draw more cards that way, and that's another way of stopping him from having a more explosive turn 1. But no, Daniel's just opted to go for double Phantom, and equally this just means that he's has the easiest chance of being able to get his Trevenants out next turn. So either one pretty much works.
I agree, as we see a first turn judge not exactly the way that Charles wanted to start this match off. Maybe Daniel was thinking, I was also considering maybe Wobbuffet might be the right choice here as a starter, but looking at Daniel's hand, there wasn't much of possibilities of retreating that Wobbuffet after that first turn. So maybe that was also something that Daniel was considering.
Yeah, of course, Daniel only plays 1 Mystery Energy as well, so that's normally something that's used to retreat the Wobbuffet, because, of course, Mystery Energy, when attached to a Psychic Pokemon, it makes its retreat cost 2 less, and Wobbuffet has 2 retreat, so that's the very easy way to just attach that and then be able to go into a Phantom, and then with a Dimension value, you could use Ascension.
And now looking at the situation, looking back, of course, it would be huge to have that Wobbuffet active, because Charles is left with nothing but this Ultra Ball, giving him access to Shaman, and now he could turn this one around just using Shaman for him, hoping to give him access to Battle Compressors while he can still play them.
Yeah, indeed. And so Charles is he's already decided on the Shaman, of course, but he's going to look through his deck. This is something that's a lot of the players, when they do their first deck search, they're just looking through to make sure that they know what's in their prize cards. Charles does play, of course, 1 town map, which lets him to look at his prize cards directly. But having that knowledge just beforehand can just make it. It can sometimes change some of the decisions he makes. So it's important to just be able to just do that beforehand, so that you know exactly what you want to go for.
Shuffling his deck before Shaman hits the bench. Very important cards he's drawing now. He needs Battle Compressors.
Yeah, but Battle Compressors just more items in general. Just more things that would just enable him to set up more Night Marches and discard pile, and put more attackers onto the field. just anything sort of playable. The one thing you wouldn't want to do is draw is like maybe 3 double colorless energies or something like that. That might be a bit sad, but other than that, it's just there's a lot that Charles can draw that would just sort of help him out a lot here. And he's drawing 5 cards as well.
If Charles keeps on shuffling like he did, maybe this game 3 is going to last a little bit longer here.
Yeah,
but finally he's done.
He's just making extra sure that he doesn't just draw a lot of awkward combinations of certain cards.
So Puzzle of Time. Trainer's Mail, I believe I saw.
Yeah, we can't see whether he's drawn 1 or 2 puzzles at a time. If he's drawn 2 in a Battle Compressor, then he could use the Battle Compressor to discard some double color energies and then get them back, or just any other items, probably the second Fighting Fury Belt if he gets another Night March attack. And we see he does have a Battle Compressor there, so we'll see what he discards off of this. Normally, you end up discarding a few Lampants, so maybe... or going for, looks like a Dimension Valley and 2 Joltics. So no, he's put Lampants, Joltics, and Pumpkaboos and Dimension Valleys on the sort of at the front of his deck. So he's obviously those are like the main choices he's considering. And if he's putting a Dimension Valley on the front, that tells me that he's probably got 2 Puzzles of Time in his hand, and that he wants to use the Puzzle of Time to get the Dimension Valley back to hand.
And maybe he also has several copies of Battle Compressors in hand, as he's eyeing out several Night Marches here on top.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so for the first one, he's opted to discard 2 Lampants and a Professor Sycamore. So Lampant is the one Night March attacker that's you play just to really bolster the damage output of Joltik and Pumpkaboo. Like you don't really see any Night March list playing Litwick to evolve into Lampant and attack with that. The Lampant's Night March attack costs a Psychic and 2 colorless, so it's just not really. It's just not very easy to attack with it at all, and it doesn't. It just really isn't ideal.
Certainly isn't, as he is now up for. Ah, there it is. Yeah, you're right. 2 copies of Puzzle of Time. Another Battle Compressor incoming this way, and Professor Sycamore now in hand.
Yeah. So that's really clever. So now he's just this just makes it a lot easier for Charles to get enough Night Marches in the discard pile so that he'll be able to knock out most of Daniel's Pokemon. Of course, the highest HP thing in Daniel's deck is that Trevenant Break, which has 160. Charles currently has 3 Night March Pokemon in the discard pile. With for 3 more, that would be 6. That will do 120 damage. That knocks out a Trevenant XY or the Trevenant Breakpoint. And so he's just looks like he would have some sort of judge decision. Nope, we're all good. So Charles is just going to play that Battle Compressor, and we're probably just going to see 3 more Night Marches being discarded.
And Daniel waiting for his turn. He's shaking his head. If I only won this coin flip.
Because you can't always rely on that, unfortunately. So normally you want to discard all your Lampants first, but it seems like Charles might have one in his hand, so he's having to start discarding his other Night Marches already. So we see a Joltik going into the discard pile, then he just needs to look for 2 more. And there's another Joltik, and 1 more. So the reason why he's opting to discard the Joltics instead of the Pumpkaboos is, of course, Daniel and Charles both play Dimension Valley, so Charles isn't going to run into a situation where he can't attack with the Pumpkaboo because he's missed a Dimension Valley, because once one of them plays one, then that's just going to stay there for the rest of the game. So Charles can feel pretty safe in the knowledge that he will almost always be able to attack with Pumpkaboo, and that, of course, because it has 60 HP instead of 30, and it can be bolstered to 100 with a Fighting Fury Belt. That just means that Daniel has a much harder time carrying a Pumpkaboo than a Joltik, and it just makes Daniel's life quite a lot harder for him to win.
I agree. So unless we have another awkward situation with Delinquent coming Charles' way, Dimension Valley is here to stay.
Yes. So he had Lampant in his hand, so Charles is going to play an Ultra Ball, discarding a Sycamore and a Lampant. Maybe just going for another Shaman just to draw more. He just wants to play as many items as possible this turn. And, maybe perhaps going for a Pumpkaboo. So, he is going to go for the Shaman. So just trying to see as many items as possible, because he knows as soon as Daniel eventually has a turn, then, you won't be able to play any of those.
Don't worry, Daniel. Your turn will come eventually. There's no way Charles is going to finish up this match right here.
Yeah. I mean, also, there's another good thing to note is that the first 2 games finished relatively quickly. We still, as you can see there, we've got 21 minutes and 42 seconds on the clock, so plenty of time to finish out this game 3. The Night March deck is very, very quick. There's, apart from this turn 1, of course. And, you see a setup with a full 6 as well, so after attaching a double colors to the Joltik. And attaching a double colors to the Joltik is fine here. Charles, with the Fighting Fury Belt, can be fairly safe in the knowledge that Daniel won't be able to discard it somehow. And then he can... What's he got here? Okay, so he's going for another Trainer's Mill, so no, Daniel, still not your turn, unfortunately.
We'll get there, though.
Yep.
So... he has a town map in hand, so this will come most likely as well.
They see maybe debating the puzzle of the time,
He doesn't need the Dimension Valley yet.
but that is what he's going to go for. Okay, so Charles is going for that now, but he will probably end up deciding to not play it straight away, because of course if he does, that means Daniel is free to attach a Psychic Energy to the bench Phantom instead of the active one, because the Ascension attack will cost no energy because it only costs 1 color, and Dimension Valley will reduce that.
I agree. So we'll see the town map. Very interesting to see what kind of cards are currently in the prize cards, and Charles will be able to choose one of them as he's going next turn. Once he's ready to attack, we see Hex Maniac. That might be very interesting in the future, and also Vespicon.
Yeah, so those prizes, again, not too bad for Charles, really, and especially now that he sort of knows what's where. If he really wants that Hex Maniac in later turns to have that one important turn of items, then he can take that. If he wants to attack with a Vespicon later, he can just take that and evolve the Combi, which is already on the bench. And we see Charles here playing a couple of VS Seekers, so he's doing this sort of in preparation for that item lock next turn, so that he just has those supporters available to play. And he's just calculating through, seeing if is there anything else I can do, because of course after this there'll be no more items, and no, he is done. So Daniel finally gets to have a go, and he's going to draw his card, and is that Breakpoint Trevenant.
So that means that he won't have access to Wally and the Breakpoint Trevenant if he wanted to go this route, as it is already in hand. Judges are discussing something yet. I think there's also Battle Compressor. What are the judges pointing at? I think it's something regarding Daniel's prize cards here. There are 6 prize cards.
Yeah, the prize cards are fine. So we'll see if this gets resolved. There's sometimes there's because we can't hear what the players are saying, so sometimes we just don't know. Might be just discussing something, but hopefully it won't take too long to sort out.
In any case, Daniel's starting hand is not too bad. He has a Battle Compressor. I believe I saw a Shaman EX in there. So he has plenty of ways to make sure that Trevenant is going to hit the field. He will have to make a decision here in terms of what where he wants to place the energy, because most likely the active Phantom is going to go down. Does he really want to evolve it into a Trevenant? This is the kind of decisions that Daniel will have to make during the next minutes.
Yeah, and of course Daniel is going to be given even more time to think about those decisions. So if he's going to play the Battle Compressor, would he probably just ends up discarding it. I didn't see if he had a VS Seeker in hand, but if he does, then obviously Wally would be a very easy choice to make, and it seems like it's finally being resolved. Oh, it looks like there might be some sort of... Oh.
Daniel is awarded a prize, so not sure what happened. Once we know more about this, we'll let you know, of course. But this means that Daniel can pick up a prize. There was some sort of penalty. We haven't caught it on camera, to be honest. Maybe we have caught it on camera, of course, but I haven't noticed anything. So the Battle Compressor is going to be used for those Wallies. He doesn't need it. He's going second. Wally really is just here to make sure that turn 1 Trevenant is happening, and he has access to the attack as he's going second now, so he doesn't need it.
Yeah, of course. So what he could also do is here is that he could just make sure that he is able to evolve 2 Trevenants in 1 turn, because one can be evolved from the Ascension attack and one can be evolved from the Wally. And so he's got the Psychic Energy on the active, and he's got Bursting Balloon as well. So he's going to defend his hand out nicely, and after that he'll be able to play the Shaman, and that's going to draw him 4 extra cards. And he's getting another Battle Compressor, and he's going to discard his extra copies of Wally and another Battle Compressor. And the weakness policy as well, as we already mentioned, the weakness policy just not be very useful in this matchup, so he's just going to discard those and the extra copies of Battle Compressor.
So we also know now that the prize penalty has been decided because of foul play on Charles' side for playing slowly for several times during this tournament. Now there's... the good thing about it is there's still plenty of time left for this game here to unfold, 16 minutes. It's also important to know that if Trevenant is out there, games tend to be on the rather longer side. It can be very exhausting. And on the other hand, Night March decks and games are very fast because they tend to attack immediately. So it's interesting to see how these two clash against each other.
Well, of course, the important thing to remember as well is that these players, they're under a lot of pressure. There's a lot of very important decisions to be made, so sometimes it might take a little bit longer than they perhaps might want to otherwise, but, they just wanted to make extra sure that, every single item, every single decision made is going to be the best, considering Charles will know what's coming next.
Yes. So Daniel has a good start here. He has access to many cards. He found his bursting balloon. I like that a lot. This will make Charles think twice about attacking the active Phantom. I've not noticed if he has a Lysender in hand already, but it will make his decision tougher now in terms of do I attack or not. There's no Dimension Valley, so you were right. He is keeping that in hand. There's no reason for him to slam it on the table just now. And this made Daniel attach the Psychic Energy to the active Phantom in any case.
And the really nice thing is we saw that Daniel draws a Zero Stick off of that Shaman, and that means he can discard that Fighting Fury Belt, and now they can do the Ascension attack to evolve into the XY Trevenant. Charles will not be able to attach another one. So this bodes very, very well for Daniel, because this means now that that Silent Fear attack is at its maximum really sort of potential to just really disrupt all of Charles' attackers. That nothing he puts down apart from like a Vesperquen will be able to withstand more than 2 hits from a Silent Fear.
That was just a great play by Daniel all over, because if that Fighting Fury Belt would have stayed there, he would be able to attack for free, basically. Now he isn't. And Charles, now in a very, very difficult situation here. He'll have to decide, if I attack, who do I attack if I have the luxury of choosing with my Lysender? And what do I have afterwards? He thinks that maybe a Shaman loop might buy him some time here, attaching a double colorless to one of his bench Shaman.
Yeah, it seems like it. And Charles just opting for that. And yeah, this is the tricky thing, because of course that Bursting Balloon being on the Trevenant means that if the Joltik attacks the Trevenant, then it's going to be knocked out. So with that in mind, Charles is thinking, right, I don't want to risk being left with nothing to attack with, or nothing to even to retreat with, because of course normally an option would be to evolve the Comey to a Vesperquen and have that as a free retreater, but as we can see, that Vesperquen is currently in the prize cards. So of course he could, if he has enough Pokemon in a discard, Night March Pokemon in the discard pile to take a knockout on this Trevenant, and then he'll be able to take the Vesperquen from the prizes. But even then, Daniel could play something like some sort of Hand Disruption and just negate that with the plan entirely as well.
Daniel's 4 cards look awful here. He has access to Trevenants and Trevenant Break, however, nothing else to draw him any additional cards. So Night March is going to take place, I believe.
Yeah. You just, I think they're just wondering what's going on with the Bursting Balloon.
No, the Bursting Balloon is here. It's correct.
Yeah.
Daniel only had 1 turn, so there's no way that Bursting Balloon should have been discarded. Daniel only had this 1 turn, so that means if Charles is going to attack, his Joltik will be going down as well.
Yeah, indeed. And as Charles again pointed out, there's 7 Night March Pokemon in discard pile, which means the Night March is doing 140 damage. It is definitely enough to KO that Trevenant. And so both the Trevenant and the Joltik should be hitting the discard pile.
Yeah, so it's a KO on both sides here.
Yeah.
Daniel pointing out, hey, I'm playing 4 copies of this card. I know what it's doing, and it's knocking out your Joltik.
Yeah. And so, Charles will send up his Combi, so he will probably just use that, evolve it to Vesperquen next turn. And unless Daniel plays somehow is a 1 judge, then that's going to be the option that Charles has to maybe either attack with Sky Return, or if he can find another Night March Pokemon and another double Colors Energy, he can attack with Night March again.
And Daniel actually promoting that Shaman. I think he drew a Floatstone out of his prize cards and then a Psychic Energy from his deck, which is very nice for him. So now he can retreat Shaman, make sure that there's no access to item cards on Charles' side. If he decides to retreat, he still sees the Hex Maniac, so he knows Hex Maniac is not happening. So Trevenant is active, but currently unable to attack.
Yeah, of course, there's no Dimension Valley, and there's only 1 Psychic Energy on that Trevenant, and of course there's no Trevenant Break, so yeah, Daniel just sending that up just to stop Charles from playing items again and reduce Charles' chances of drawing into another Night March Pokemon and another double Colorless Energy.
So Vesperquen coming out for the very first time in this match. There's a double Colorless Energy again, preparing maybe a Shaman Sky Return loop.
Yeah, of course, this is the strategy that sometimes is used against item lock decks, where, especially against something like Trevenant, because the damage output is quite low. Sometimes what you can do is just, how you have 2 Shamans, and you keep using Skyrim in both of them, so that essentially all the damage gets healed off, and it's just trying to deny Daniel from ever taking a prize.
And this will work if the damage output is low, if bursting balloons are not activating. Daniel now has found a Professor Sycamore, which is very nice for him, a Dimension Valley to go with it. And now he could decide to, do I attach another Psychic Energy to go with Tree Slam to start piling up that damage on Vespiquen? Which I think would be a sound play here, because that would mean that Vespiquen would go down afterwards in the second attack here, if Charles decides to go with Shaman.
Yeah, one important thing to note is that some Trevenant lists we see, they actually play Headringer, so this is of course the tool that when it's attached to opponent's Pokemon EX, all their attacks cost 1 color's energy more, but Daniel is not playing Headringer, so that's sometimes an option that these Trevenant decks have to stop the Shaman loop, is you just Headringer one of them, and then they're forced to either, attach to double color's energy if they have that, or otherwise they're just unable to attack, and then you just can knock out the Shaman.
Another way around would also be the Breakpoint Trevenant. That would mean that Shaman would need free attack, free colorless energy to attack, and this is of course impossible to do in only 1 turn here. There's the Bursting Balloon, as Shaman is going to return immediately to Charles' hand. In this turn, maybe the Bursting Balloon is not going to do Daniel any good, unless he decides to attack with Vespiquen, of course, that is.
Yeah, so Daniel there just asking Charles to have a look at the discard pile and see how many Night March Pokemon are in there. As we can see, from the dice are currently 8, so now Charles will be able to do Night March for 160 to knock out even a fresh Trevenant break.
And now the clock actually plays an important role here. And now that Daniel is actually ahead in prize cards, which doesn't happen too often with Trevenant deck, I have to admit, because it usually is very slow to take prizes. But now he's actually ahead in prize cards, and Charles will have to find a way to fight back as soon as possible.
Yeah, yes, he will. And so, of course, because of the Sky Return last turn, we know that Charles has the double colors and Shaman in hand to just bench that and then just keep, as we mentioned before, doing this loop with the 2 Shamans. But he's opting. I think he's deciding whether to play some more cards out of his hand first, if there are any he can play before doing this. But no, it just seems like he's just going to bench a Shaman. And then, attach a double color to the bench one, and then we'll probably see another Sky Return, which, of course, will take off that 30 damage that's already on it and do another 30 damage to that Trevenant. Another important thing to note is that even if the Shaman had enough damage on it, so that with a Bursting Balloon, it'll be a knockout, because it returns to the field before knockouts are checked for, it would not be knocked out.
So it's important now, Daniel realizes now that this Bursting Balloon was not useful last turn for him. However, he now has to find a way to get out of this loop. He realizes this is not going to do me any good here. He decides to go with Silent Fear, so there is a clock on Vespiquen, but we know that Charles has access to Shaman. It will take a couple of turns for Charles to actually get a benefit out of this loop, because benching Shaman doesn't do him any good. He draws more cards now, and he always has more cards in hand than Shaman allows him to draw with his setup. Yeah. So now he actually decides to go with Vespiquen.
Yeah, this is interesting now. So the kind of risky thing about doing this is that if Daniel is able to access any kind of attack next turn, maybe he could attack with a Wobbuffet, or maybe perhaps even a Trevenant if he finds a Psychic Energy. This means that then the Vespiquen can be knocked out, and then at that point Charles will have quite...
Charles drew 2 prize cards by knocking out Trevenant Break, and he should not be allowed to do this.
Yeah. So hopefully the judges will sort that out soon as well. I mean, imagine there's it probably should be fairly quickly, and hopefully we'll just get that sorted out. Yep, and you can see the judges have walked over just now, so yeah, they're just going to put them both back, and then so there might be a bit of a disagreement over what prizes were taken.
Yeah, there's disagreement now which prize cards have been taken. He put back Senior and Junior, but this one was in his hand. He did not pick up this as a prize card. So judges will have to reconstruct the situation to really understand what kind of cards he had available to pick from his prize cards. And he decided that it's going to be Hex Maniac and not the Pumpkaboo.
Yeah. So then, so play is going to pass back to Daniel now. He's going to play an Ultra Ball. So yeah, he's guarding Dimension Valley because obviously that won't help him much right now. And maybe a VS Seeker. Yeah. So all he wants to just see at this point is just something to attack with, because that would just mean another double colors in the discard pile, which should leave Charles in a quite awkward position in terms of being able to attack again next turn. And then if at some point Daniel will be able to get out a Breakpoint Trevenant, then Charles might actually just physically not be left with enough energy to do any sort of attacks at all. And especially now to see Daniel's following up with that with a Judge. So that's going to make Charles even less likely to be able to draw this double colors energy. And this is really good from Daniel. This is a way for him to, just really try and put more pressure on Charles. And of course, especially if he sees an energy, he'll be able to take a knockout on this Vespiquen, and that'll put Daniel in probably a good contention to win this game.
Judge is also a very nice card to get out of that Shaman loop. So important for Trevenant decks that are kind of lost in that Shaman loop. Now Charles has to shuffle in the double colors and also the Shaman EX. No, not the double colors, but only the Shaman EX. And now Daniel is really hoping for an energy or a Trevenant break to be able to get rid of that active Vespiquen.
Yes, indeed. So they're just going to make sure they shuffle really well, and then...
Very important 4 cards here.
Yep, so we're going to, and he does see the Psychic Energy, so that is very, very good indeed. So with that, Daniel will be able to take a knockout on that Vespiquen, and yeah, from this point, I mean, Charles is just left with 1 Shaman. He really, really needs to see a double colorless now.
So let's see how Charles can respond to that. Even if he had access to the Lysender to allow him to play item cards, there's not many cards in hand that could help him actually, and you can see it from Charles' demeanor. Very, very tough situation here for him now.
Yeah, and the very nice thing that we can see Daniel has, he actually has another VS Seeker in his hand, so even if Charles were able to access this double colors and Shaman again to do another loop, then Daniel can just VS Seeker to get that Judge straight back and shuffle it all in again. So Charles is really going to... It's going to be on the back foot here, but of course it's never over until the... Yeah, well, it's not over until it's over.
It's a very, very difficult game here. You can see many decisions have to be made here. It's top 8. You want to become the UK National Master Division champion. And now we can see how nervous these players are.
Yeah. And of course, it's a very nerve-wracking situation. This game is looking very, very close. There's a lot of small things that could really swing the match in either Charles or Daniel's favor. That teammates that Charles drew is very, very big. So that means that he will be able to do, assuming that there's 1 left, he will be able to do another Sky Return this turn. But then, of course, Daniel will just be able to VS Seeker for the Judge and just prevent that. So it will come down to whether Charles is able to draw into that Shaman Loop combo again.
Let's see what cards Charles picked. I haven't been able to get a glimpse on them.
Well, of course, the thing is with teammates is that you don't have to show your opponent what cards you picked. So there's no reason why he'd show them to us either. But we
Come on, Charles.
Yeah, so it's
show them.
Yeah,
show them.
Show us your hand. Now,
be transparent here.
Yeah. So there you go. There is a double colorless, and yeah, we can see. Yeah, that's a Shaman as well, and he gets to draw 2 cards off of that. And after that, Charles will be able to do a Sky Return, take off that 50 damage, and then play will pass back to Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel knows he might need to play that Judge 1 more time. He has a Trevenant break in hand, which is huge because this makes that Shaman loop less effective. Needs many more attacks to make it happen.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to think now. It will be a 6-hit knockout with Sky Return, which is just far from ideal.
But now 2 Pumpkaboos are benched. Now with Trevenant break, the clock is on for these Pumpkaboo. And now the Judge, that will again put Charles in a very, very difficult situation. And Daniel might realize here, I have this Versus Seeker. What am I going to do with it?
Yeah, and he's just, as we suggested, he's just going to go for that Judge. That's going to just make things a lot easier for him. And especially now that Charles is up to the bench of 2 Pumpkaboos, he's going to take... after 2 Silent Fears, he'll take 2 prizes. Even though he hasn't taken all 6, because he has the lead in Game 3, if this game goes to time, which seems like it might be quite likely considering we only have 2 minutes left on the clock, then because he has the prize lead, unless Charles is able to take knockouts to even up the prizes, Daniel will win this match.
Yeah, so important turns now. Daniel, what is he looking for now for these 4 cards? He needs to have a backup maybe in case that... Charles is going to be able to fight back and knock out his Trevenant break, so maybe a Phantom you would like to see here. But also don't forget about that Warbefet. It's able to deal some revenge knockouts here in case that he decides to go with Silent Fear, for example. Here.
Yeah, that's the really big thing I think Daniel wants to do, just a Psychic Energy, because now Daniel has a follow-up attacker to work with. And the other important thing is, he wants to really, really hope that Charles just does not hit that double colors energy.
Bursting Balloon could be potentially interesting, but also Lysender in this situation maybe not so much. But the Bursting Balloon, for sure, very, very interesting choice here for Daniel, because that would mean that if Charles does attack with a Pumpkaboo, it would immediately be also knocked out.
Yes, I mean, I guess ultimately it probably won't make a huge difference, because if Charles doesn't do anything to, get rid of the damage, then it will be knocked out from a second Silent Fear next turn anyway. And unless the one exception would be if, say, Charles played Hex Maniac and then attached the Fighting Fury belt, then it would make a difference. But other than that, I think it's just probably just playing it at this point just to get it out of his hand.
And I like the fact that he chose Silent Fear here, because that means if Pumpkaboo is attacking, it's knocked out, and if he promotes the other Pumpkaboo, that means that Wobbuffet is going to be able to revenge knock out it. There's going to be a Hex Maniac, so Charles is able to play item cards for the remainder of this turn.
But does he have the Fighting Fury belt? This is the key question here. Because that would, if he has the Fighting Fury belt, then that would mean even if he attacks the Trevenant and he takes the 60 from the Bursting Balloon, that would go up to 90 damage, which is with the Fighting Fury belt's extra 40 HP, which would mean it would be 10 short of a knockout.
There's the Ultra Ball for the Shaman, so he might want to get the Shaman loop going again, but remember, he has 4 prize cards left, and Daniel 3 prize cards, so the clock might be working in Daniel's favor here.
Yeah, and that is his time. Of course, Charles just played a Hex Maniac as well, so he won't be able to draw cards with the Shaman, so yeah, he is just searching it to maybe try and attack with another Sky Return. But he might have just searched it. Maybe he might just be out of other things to just search entirely. Maybe that's just all he could go for.
Yeah, it's tough. Tough to get access to double colorless energy if you're up against Trevenant. Out of options here, maybe. He's trying to consider every possible move that he has left in his rather small hand.
Yeah, but you see from the look on his face, he just, yeah. I think he's being told to hurry a little bit by the judges, but of course we have gone to time now. Yeah, Charles just, I mean, what does Charles do at this point? It's just, if he hasn't got the double colors in his hand, which it doesn't look like he does, otherwise, he would have played it already. He's benching another Pumpkaboo.
Another Pumpkaboo. He says turn, now Daniel's turn. Bursting Balloon again, going to the discard pile. There's not much that he actually needs to do, because there's no way that Charles can actually recover so many prize cards.
Yeah, absolutely, and you see a Delinquent as well. Charles's hand size is very small, but no, he's going to go for the Precious Sycamore. So, maybe he's thinking about it.
the crowd here nearby watching every single move that Daniel makes. It's tough to be here in the bright lights on live stream to make every single move count and every single move correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in Daniel's credit, it won't make a difference, I think, because he's going to take 2 knockouts here, and this, of course, will be turn 1 of time. So now Charles' turn will be turn 2 of time, and he needs to take 3 prizes this turn, and I just don't think Charles is going to be able to do that.
Here we go. There's Shaman the setup. 6 more cards.
And what did he draw from that? Of course, Daniel is only, yeah, and that's it.
He's extending the hand, and